Good morning and welcome to your show for February 1st, a jam-packed program today featuring tape segments with Denver's own NASCAR team, the Furniture Row Racing Guys, and baseball legend Tommy Lasorda. But first, the first television interview for Ken Salazar since being named Interior Secretary. We posed your questions to him on Friday. Interior Secretary Ken Salazar, welcome back to your show and congratulations.
Thank you, Adam. Great to be back in Colorado. Great to be on your show one more time.
Let us jump right in. Jan Beckett writes in saying, thank you, sir, for being so honest with the folks in the Department of the Interior. It's about time we're held accountable. She works for the Bureau of Reclamation for almost 32 years. She wants to know, how do you see Interior becoming a better agency under your watchful eyes?
And the most important thing is that we have to restore the integrity back into the department. The department has been blemished with scandals that range from sex, drugs, and alcohol to the highest levels of the department personnel being sent to prison. So we need to restore the confidence of the American people back in the Department of Interior, and we have been working on that very hard in the first 10 days that I have been Secretary of Interior.
I'm sure you have a plan for this, but Benita Leahy follows up with the logical, how will you clean up this department and make sure they do operate with the highest ethical standards?
First, we set forth the expectation, and we've done it with ethics orders and memorandums and meetings that we've had with all of the 67,000 employees of the Department of Interior. And second of all, we'll hold people accountable. We need to look back, and there were ethical lapses where people, I think, were not held accountable. And so we're coming back and reviewing those ethical lapses to make sure that people understand that we're not going to tolerate the anything goes philosophy of the Department of Interior for the last 8 years. And we're going to do that every day for as long as I'm Secretary of Interior.
I'm glad you brought up energy because we have a number of energy questions. Kevin Clerkin writes in from Arvada saying, what is your plan for the development of existing and future natural gas fields in the Rockies? Do you support continued drilling and exploration of new sources, particularly on federal lands?
The answer is yes. We support exploration and development. We recognize that we rely on natural gas and oil to fuel our economy today. But we also recognize that as we approach exploration and development of oil and gas resources, that we have to do it in a thoughtful manner. Not every place in the entire world is appropriate for us to be drilling. There are places that are very special that need to be protected. We need to protect our riparian corridors and need to make sure that the drilling occurs away from the streams themselves. There's a balance that can protect our land and our water at the same time allow development to continue.
Certainly the topic specifically of offshore drilling came up during this last election cycle and was top of mind. Ken Hageman writes in, and you can probably guess his slant by the question. His, when are you going to push for offshore drilling? His words, it's an important piece of meeting our energy needs. Your thoughts?
President Obama has said during the campaign and has said recently, and I've said recently, that it's important that we look at the LCS as part of a comprehensive energy program. And so we are looking at the Outer Continental Shelf and development there in a way that is one of the items on a complete menu for a comprehensive energy program. And we need to have greater efficiency in how we use energy. We need to take the moonshot on renewable energy. We need to look at advanced technologies for batteries and a whole host of other things. And we need to use conventional fuels, and that includes fuels from the Outer Continental Shelf. So that's part of a comprehensive energy program, and it's in that context that we'll look at opportunities in the OCS.
Let me take you from offshore back inland. Dwayne Rollerson writes in saying he's on a fixed income, wants to know if there could be an enhanced program to make the wood being cut and burned in the national forests and parks be available to people that need it to heat their homes with the price of propane, natural gas, and electric heat. He said many of us who live in the mountains can't afford to heat with it.
The answer to that is yes, and there are beyond the conventional uses of wood for burning and for heating homes. One of the things that we have found already here in places like Colorado is that there's a great use for wood that is coming from the bark beetle infested forest, and so we see biomass facilities that are springing up not only in Colorado but throughout the West. And so we will look at how we can use these resources in an effective way to help meet the energy needs of a person or of an industry. Very interesting, Adam. Jackson County, Walden, Colorado, one of our 64 counties here in our state, has a vision as a county to become the first energy independent county for the United States of America. And the way that they're doing it is they are taking the wood from beetle infested forest and they basically have started to generate the electricity and the heat that they need for the entire county. So there are great opportunities with respect to biomass.
Ernie Oakes writes in from Golden wanting to know, over the last 6 years, the National Clean Cities program located in the Department of Energy is a program that's been working with the Park Service in converting the park vehicles to alternative fuel. He'd like you to look into the program, keep it going. Does it sound like something you'd be interested in?
Absolutely, and as part of what you'll see in the economic recovery stimulus package we're working on are going to be significant initiatives that will deal with the new crop of vehicles that are much more fuel efficient than what we had in the past.
Let me segue you now to the topic of Native Americans, and it's certainly something that comes under your purview as Secretary of the Interior. Rosalie Tallbull writes in from Denver saying, I'd like to let Interior Secretary Ken Salazar know that American Indians across this country would like to have their families, children, and elders of their respective tribes to have the same opportunities as the rest of America.
I fully agree, and I think that the 500 tribes and millions of Native Americans, the First Americans that we have in this country, are facing some very difficult challenges. We have lawlessness in the reservations. We have disparity in healthcare and in education. We have limited economic development in many of our reservations and for Native Americans who live off the reservation. So it's a huge challenge, and it is something which President Obama has recognized as a high priority for himself as well as for his agencies. We will have a position in the White House that represents Native Americans. We have many positions and agencies in the Department of Interior that will work on that agenda. But it's important that the Native American communities, who really have been among the most vulnerable of communities in our nation, no longer be placed at the end of the line in the way that they have been for the last 8 years. We need to put them at the table in their appropriate place in a position of equality with the rest of Americans.
One of the issues the department's had to deal with over the last number of years has been this lawsuit as it relates to the trust. And I don't know what you can speak to about that, but if people haven't been following carefully, it's been on the inside pages of the newspaper, usually little stories. But Lisa writes in saying, I'd like to know if you're going to do anything to expedite the resolution of the Cobell Trust Fund 11-year-old court case.
Yes, we're working on it right now as we speak, and we have some optimism. We have a new judge in the case, and we now have some decisions that the judge has made that has given us some parameters around which we will be hopefully able to create some kind of resolution of the case. So it's high priority. We are now in, I think, the 10th day of occupying this position as Secretary of Interior. So there is a tremendous amount of work to do, but the Cobell litigation and the resolution of that litigation will be one of our high priorities.
Thank you so much. Secretary Salazar, it's good to see you again.
Thank you, Ed.